Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. And today we'll start with a quick look at Tesla. I will do a new update on the Magnificent Seven either today or on Monday over the weekend, so it's ready for you guys. But just very quickly on Tesla, you can see after jumping much higher after the election, interestingly. And it is on its way to 313, where we have some resistance, and it could push up there, and then we'll probably have a setback. There's a little bit of divergence on the weekly chart, but it's starting to break above the rising trend line here. So it seems very strong indeed. And also on the daily, there's no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. On the main index, the S&P 500, we can see how it jumped higher. Also, again, yesterday, up 0.75%, almost up to the 161.8 at just around 6,000. I think it will hit it possibly today here before the weekend, and I think we'll have a little bit of a setback. The RSI broke above this falling trend line, testing the previous peak there at 67.99, so a close above that, then it will cancel this divergence picture, and we will likely see higher levels on S&P 500. But for now, a little bit stressed, but let's see how we end the week. On the Nasdaq 100, also pushed higher again yesterday, about 1.5%. And here pre-market unchanged, 21,000, we are above that. We could push higher. There's no divergence on the RSI, and we are likely to push higher towards 21,300, maybe even 21,500 here on Nasdaq. However, if it does start closing these gaps here, then we have a different situation. So that's what you should keep an eye on. The Dow Jones index was fairly muted yesterday, actually. Didn't really do much, dancing around the spot more or less. There's a little bit divergence on the RSI, but again, you should trust the trend. And I think we could see it pushing higher towards 44,000 to begin with. But there is a little bit fatigue setting in short term, but not a trend change just yet. The European market had a fairly quiet day yesterday, with the EUROSTOXX 50 bouncing a little bit, but it is still in this downtrend scenario here. RSI is negative, but key support at 4,800 for EUROSTOXX 50. If it takes it out once again, then I don't think you should wait for. I would not wait for a close below, but that will strengthen the bearish picture. And also, if we close below the cloud area and the RSI gets back below 40, then we will have a push and possibly below the 47.32 support down here, and likely lower levels. For EUROSTOXX 50 to really resume downtrend, it really needs to take out that spike up there at 49.47. But for now, it doesn't look like that. Here pre-market, we are a little bit lower. Once again, we can see here the futures the CFD is trading in this falling channel-like pattern here. We have DAX index still holding on above 19,000, which is key for DAX. It has broken this rising trend line, but the key will be 19,000. That should be observed. We're still in positive sentiment, despite we have this divergence here. So really 19,000 key level to watch out for. Same picture here, obviously, on the index futures / the CFD. Amsterdam index, it's clear that is 873. That is the key support. We are in a negative sentiment. We are in a bearish trend here also. And what we can do, we could draw a trend line just to get an idea. If it breaks above that, well, that could be a sign of a trend change. But we can see all the moving averages pointing lower. We are below the 200 and the 893 level here is key for any potential upside to be broken. The CAC 40 didn't do much yesterday either, still holding on above the 7,300 and 7,341. And the Swiss market, well, it is very indecisive at the moment, dancing around these 11,875, but key support is 11,750. And we are in a bearish trend, negative sentiment, and really needs to get back about 12,122 for any meaningful attempt to get upside potential. For now, it doesn't look like that's where we are headed. Euro dollar, a lot of noise, a lot of volatility, now it just needs to settle for a direction. I mean, we are in a bearish trend, but it is also a very big range that we are trading in at the moment, after it's spiking almost down to the 106.65. And let's just take it one more time, reiterate it. It is a key support level, as you can see here. Now, as we speak, we are back above the, or just on the rising trend line here, but 106.65 is really a key support. If it does close below, and also the RSI on the weekly closes below the 40 threshold, then we have a complete different, not a completely different situation, but we do have a confirmed bearish trend. But for now, it's still holding on. But have a look at the 200 moving average here weekly, declining. The 55 is here, and the 100 here. It's kind of starting to tilt over a little bit, but it's not right there yet. I could imagine here the next going into next week, we will still see trading around the 107.50 and up to around 108.50, where we have some resistance up here with the 200 moving average. So for now, I will stay off a little bit and just to see where the consolidation will set in. But for now, we are still in a bearish trend, but it's not confirmed. And we can also say, well, there's actually divergence. You can see that there is RSI is higher here than here, but the market was lower. So maybe we should have a little bit upwards correction again towards 108.75, maybe even 109. But it really needs to break above 109.40 up here for a push to 110. But it doesn't look convincing. The euro sterling sliding lower towards the 83. Another break below 83 could see selling pressure increasing, but it could also see that we are bouncing from this falling trend line here. We could see a bounce up to around 83.50. However, we can see the moving averages are still declining here, kind of putting a pressure on it. And if the RSI moves back below the 40 threshold, well, then it will add to the bearish picture. Sterling dollar cable, 130.45 to the upside, but the upside couldn't maybe not be that much. 131 key resistance, and the 55 moving average coming down, kind of putting a lid on it here. So it really needs to establish itself above here for further upside potential. Some support here, 128.70, but the key support 128 didn't get challenged. It could be if it pushed back below this 128.70 level, then I think we'll take out 128, and I think that is where we are headed. And especially if we're looking at the weekly chart, let's see where we end the week. We can see how we have broken this rising trend line here, but we are still above the 200 moving average, and the RSI is still positive, and there's no divergence. Dollar yen lost its mojo a little bit after spiking above 154. Didn't get all the way up to 155.25. The resistance here setting back a little bit, but we did get a higher high. But we also have now divergence. You can see the peak values there are declining, and you can draw a trend line here just as well as you do on the actual price chart. We are trading in what appears to be a rising channel, and if it takes out 151.45 here, well, then we will see a trend reversal with a potential down to 149.40, maybe even lower. However, we are still in a bullish trend if RSI also is being pushed back above 60. back above this falling trend line here, then I think we'll see a challenge of the 155.20 and possibly higher. But for now, it seems like it can't really make its mind up. Should it continue or should it just stay where it is? Euro yen is a little bit weaker here. Still positive sentiment. Still no divergence. There is potential higher to 168. But if it starts moving back below 164, it could also slide lower towards 161. I don't think it will break it because we have the 55 moving average coming up here, giving kind of a support. We are still in a positive sentiment and we are still above the cloud. So maybe just a little bit of a setback, and then we will have the next push. Aussie yen crawling slowly higher around the 61.8 retracement in this what could be like a rising trend line. Could also be, if I just remove this one and then add could also be like a rising wedge pattern maybe, but it's more like a channel really, because it's not really, those two lines are not converging that much. But anyway, we are in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence. I think we will push higher on the Aussie yen here in the coming week or so. Sterling yen is having really trouble. It didn't touch the 200, was just a few pips below, and this time it didn't get really up there either. However, no divergence on the RSI. The peaks here are higher than here, and the same here and here. So if it takes out the 200 level, well, then we are looking towards higher levels on the sterling yen. And what we could do is say, okay, this was a little bit of a correction. We will say, let's see where it can move to and get rid of all this. I'm just showing you how you can do this. And there we are. Then we have an idea if it takes out the previous peak here, and then we are pushing towards 202.70, 203, maybe higher. Aussie dollar also quite volatile, a massive bounce yesterday just to the 100 moving average. I think it could slide back below this 66.40 once again. So sometimes after these massive moves, it's a little bit frustrating to see, okay, where are we actually moving to and what's really going on. If we zoom in, and we can again here also add a Fibonacci retracement just to get an idea what the trading levels are. You can see, well, possibly set back to the 38.2, but also down to the 61.8 at 65.80. And let's get rid of these here, because that's a little bit of a noise for the moment. And also we'll get rid of the 50. That's not the one that is that important for the FX market apparently. So if it takes out the spike up there, well, then the resistance here at 67.25 is fairly strong, because we have the 55 moving average coming down, also kind of putting a lid on it. And then we could see also here at the RSI, there is currently no divergence, and if it moves back below the 40 threshold, I think we'll see a push lower. Sometimes it's a good guide also to look at the weekly to see what's actually going on. Well, but in this case, really hard to say what's going on really on the Aussie dollar. Can't break its mind up. We are in a positive sentiment on the RSI weekly, so we should see a push higher, but it's really a struggle at the moment. So I will stay clear until I get a little bit of a stronger signal, to be honest. Dollar Canada, a lot of volatility. Also here between 139.60 and 138.20, and that's the range it needs to break out for direction. It is still showing positive sentiment. There's no divergence down here. If it takes out 139.60, well, then we are seeing push above 140. Sterling Canada, no news there really. Also this range here between 178.30 and 181.45. On the Swiss franc, still sideways here, and 94.50 seems to be the levels to break, and we do need the RSI to get back above 60 threshold for a positive sentiment to confirm an uptrend, but for now fairly boring. Also 93.30 could slide back to that, and that is the key support for Euro Swiss. Dollar Swiss, well, it broke higher and then it set back a little bit, testing the previous minor resistance, now support here at 87.10. Positive RSI, no divergence, indicating a likely higher push towards 88.25, where we have the 200 moving average. There will be a little bit of a resistance there, but it's not that strong. If it takes it out, well, there's potential up to 89. And the dollar index, well, yeah, it's also sliding back a little bit. Actually touched the 61.8 retracement at 104.07. If it closes this gap here down to and let's just adjust this one a bit. There we are. If it closes this gap down to there to 103.82, well, the uptrend here could be reversed, and there is divergence on the RSI, but this is what I'll also do here. I'll draw a trend line on the RSI. If it takes out that falling trend line there, then I think we'll see a push higher towards 105.80, possibly higher. Gold bounced off the 786 retracement, spot on at 26.43. Now being rejected here at 27.08, which was the support level, being rejected. If it takes out 26.43, well, then it will try to push and at least test the 2600, and that is a very key support level, because if it moves below that and closes below, well, then we'll probably also have the 40 threshold here being taken out on the RSI, and then we could see lower levels. Then the correction or downtrend could be even bigger than what we currently see. If we move back above the rising trend line here and back above 27.18, 27.20, well, then there's a chance that it can crawl back towards previous peaks. On the silver, that got hit by sell-off, also spiked below the 786 retracement down to 31, touched the 31 here, just a little bit below, and then we have a bounce, but it needs to get back above 33 for resuming the bullish trend. For now, we are in a bigger correction. If it takes out 31 and also the spike down here, well, then we're looking at 30, a level down here, possibly a little bit lower. On the platinum, well, it's back down to the 786 retracement at 969. Can't really get above. It has been above 1,000, but it needs to get back above 1,005 to establish a bullish trend. RSI is still positive, no divergence. So if it does get up there, I think we'll see a push towards previous peaks there. Palladium totally collapsed there, now back to 1,000 level again, and then I think it will actually bounce a little bit, but it needs to get it back above these levels here around 1126 for upside potential. And copper, well, it dipped below the 429, didn't get all the way down to 420, and then we have a massive rebound, but it needs to get up back above 450, and then we'll see a push towards 470 and possibly higher. On the energy side, once again, the WTI crude oil got rejected here at just around 72.5, and the resistance here at 72.34. It really needs to close above, and I want to see it actually also closing above the cloud for establishing a bullish trend, and it will be confirmed if RSI can close it back above 60 threshold. Until then, it is a little bit under pressure. The Brent Crude oil, same picture really, but they didn't even get up there to the 76.54, and the RSI is also way quite a bit from the 60 threshold that it needs to close above for establishing a bullish trend towards 80 and 81. Just very quickly on the gas market, the Dutch gas is pushing higher again, holding on above the 38 level. On the bigger picture, well, We are above the cloud. We are in a positive sentiment on the RSI and likely to push or crawl higher. I don't think it will be a massive explosion higher, but it is pushing higher on Dutch gas. Henry Hub gas, the US nat gas, still in this triangle-like pattern here. And I think it will test the upper side. If it takes out $3, well, then there's potential much higher. US 10-year Treasury yields still holding on in this rising channel here. In a correction phase, setting back a little bit, and I actually think we will get a correction, possibly taking out 425. If it does that, well, then we're looking at 414, but I think that level will hold and then we'll see a bounce back. We can see here on the weekly chart what's actually going on. It got rejected at the key resistance here up just below 450. And the upper falling trend line, if it does close above 450, well, then there is potential much higher to 475 and even towards 5%. The 2-year Treasury yields setting back a little bit, but the key support here at 406, 405 needs to hold. If it breaks below that, well, then we can see a larger correction. And what I will do here, just to help me a little bit, the last leg up here, the latest leg up here, I'll add a Fibonacci retracement, and we can see here in this region around it, well, the 61.8 is still above 4%. And we could dip down to there because we can see that the 100 moving average is coming down. We're still in a positive sentiment, but there is divergence indicating we could see a correction in the coming days and going into next week. On the European side, we have the EuroBund still spiking a lot below. There's trouble in Germany with the government collapsing, so that could be a little bit of a worry for yields also here, but there's still a potential to 130, but a bounce, since it seems they can't really push it lower, I could expect a bounce up towards 132 area in this region here. But then we have the 200 moving average coming down. We have the 100 up here, 55 also tilting over, but there's a little bit divergence here, very short term. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day, a nice weekend, and talk to you again Monday.